we've talked so much about the function, the scope, the what, and the who that is marketed, but now it's time to turn our attention to the marketplace. How can we look at markets from a marketing perspective? So the first thing to do is to understand that there are various ways in which you can segregate or understand the market, right? So one way is to actually look at a primary market, a secondary market, and a tertiary market. Now, what does that mean? To prioritize what comes first, what comes second, and what comes third in the line of importance, right? So your primary market is where your hottest prospects lie. After that, a little less hot, and after that, a little even less hot, right? Or less hotter, right? Now, the fact is that let's take an example so that you'll understand this a little more. So let's assume that you're selling a candy, right? So let's say that you're selling Pulse. Now, the first primary market for Pulse would be perhaps the metro cities in India, because that's where the launches will meet with success, and that's where people are looking for this sort of thing, and there are more panwalas and the rest of it where Pulse can be put. So that's why you've chosen to put the primary market as all the metros and mini metros in India. Now that's one primary market. The secondary market can be the Mofussil towns and the tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities or something like that. And the tertiary market can be, well, rural India. So that is the definition of primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now, another way of looking at marketplaces is to figure out whether you are a mass market product or a niche market product. Now, what does that mean? Let's look at both things. Let's take the same example of Pulse. Now, Pulse is a mass market product, which means that what they're trying to do is that they're not trying to actually figure out that I'm going to look at only a certain part of the population that I'm defining either geographically, demographically, or psychographically, which means that I'm making it very small. What it means essentially is that I'm looking at people across ages and across genders and across geographies because I want to reach a wide scale. Niche market, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. A niche market is, let's take an example again, Harley Davidson. So Harley Davidson is very clear that it doesn't want to sell to everybody. What Harley Davidson is doing is saying, hey, this is the type of person I want to sell to. This type of person actually exists in very small quantities here and there, but that is what I will do. So that's the difference between a mass market and a niche market. Another way of segregating markets is a very interesting way. You have to look at the way in which people are responding to your product. So there might be an immediately addressable market, and there might be the overall market. What does that again mean? It means that you can define the overall market as a much larger entity, which actually includes all the kinds of people who can buy your product, service, or experience. But on the other hand, you have the immediately addressable market, people who are recognizing your product, service, or experience immediately. They're already connected. So here's an example. When smartphones came first into the market, there were people who were eagerly waiting for smartphones, okay? And that target audience, let's say, belonged to a certain very specific kind of population. So it was the youngsters, it was the college goers, or it was the young professionals, or whatever, right? So you had this bunch of people. Today, everyone's using a smartphone. So that is the overall market size. So you look at addressable market size, which is the immediate thing that you're going to address in the next 1 year or maybe 2 years, and then there's the overall market size that you're going to capture over the next 10 years.